Hello and welcome everyone to episode 20 of the Dirty Side of the Grid podcast, where we've turned up late to qualifying and we're starting on the dirty side of the grid because the Kangaroos ate our equipment. I am Yusuf and my co-host Mohammed is joining me, and as you can see, this is our first online episode, mainly because we couldn't really go into campus.
You couldn't be bothered,
Yeah,
man. That's fine. You didn't want to walk.
okay. Comment down below what you think of this episode. Should we stick with this format? Should we stick with the room? I think this probably will make kind of, as we go into summer, we'll get a few more online episodes. We'll try and do like more of them in person. Anyways, back to the race. So this is the review of the Australian GP. And I'm not gonna lie, I slept through the race. So what are your thoughts on, let's start with this. What are your thoughts on the timing of the race? Like,
Yeah, okay. It's a good place to start. So, for context, Ramadan. So, I was also staying up for the race. Normally, I would have slept because 6 a.m. It's early, but it's really it's not that early though. Like you can wake up for 6 a.m. So normally I would have been able to, but I stayed up and then I ended up falling asleep about half an hour through it. So I went back and watched the rest of it. I'd say I've heard a few people say like, you could try adjust the timing. So with another race that we're going to get onto later, they've done a mad thing with the timing to adjust it. We'll get onto that in the news section, but like, I don't think they should move when it is, and I feel like 6 a.m. isn't really that bad. Like
but I feel like it's probably a bit like unreal. Like I think if you're in the US, it's fine. If you're in Australia or East Asia, it's fine. The only issue is for people in Europe, and the majority of fans of F1 are in Europe. That's the issue.
true.
But I think
But
in terms
even
of
though
6
you've
a.m.
got
isn't like
yeah,
that
it's
bad, but it's just like it's too early. So like if it's 8 a.m., you can be like you can naturally wake up at 8 a.m. No one's gonna naturally wake up at 6 a.m. And to watch a race is like it's not even a good like let's be honest, Australia is not always like
there's the problem.
that interesting. Like
Yeah,
if you know it's like a really, really good race, like Saudi, you're gonna wake up no matter the time, like to watch it. But like it's Australia, man.
yeah.
Like we missed it the last few years and no one cared. That's the thing,
It's not like you're right. It's not really worth waking up for, sort of. But at the same time, I'm trying to be wary of complaining too much because I know there are Australians, Americans, or whoever it is who like there are people across the world who end up having like all of like the entire calendar is a horrific time for them, and we're here like the only two that are really off for us are um Australia's really early and then Japan's really early as well, and that's it. Like those are the only two races in the entire calendar that are like
Vegas is
off.
gonna be very early as well.
So that's the one I was mentioning. Yeah. So if we want to, do you want to get into the? We'll get into like a bit of news first. So obviously we had a week off before this race come in, and within that week we had Las Vegas announced for next year. That's the third race in the US, and the thing I was referencing was they're gonna do the race on a Saturday night, so that the timing's better for people like across the world. So we still watch the race on a Sunday, but it actually happens on a Saturday. What do you think of that?
When is it gonna be in Europe? Like, is it gonna be like 6 a.m. as well?
I don't think it'll be that early. I don't think it'll be. It might be more like what's the time difference? Probably like 8, right? 8 hours.
Maybe is it what midnight there? Like when is it?
Yeah, something like that. Like it's really close to right at the end of the day on Saturday.
Interesting. See, I don't mind them doing it on Saturday, like very, very late. I don't mind that as much. Like my issue is more like the races in the US are too much now. Like
Yeah, that's the
the
follow-up question. Like, would you
yeah,
3 races
like
in the
we've
US?
got
What do you
way too
think?
many races in the US. I do understand the idea of like it's an untapped market and they want to make money and stuff. But I think like with Liberty Media coming in, you're seeing F1 essentially becoming more American in the sense that it's just about making profit. That's it. Like Stefano Domenicali was saying, "Oh, we can go to 30 races." What 30 races? Are you joking? People are complaining about 22 races. He's like, "Yeah, we'll just add 7 more." Like, what do you mean 7 more? Like, it's obviously it's very difficult for people working in F1. Like work-life balance was horrible before this. After this, it's just gonna be like no one wants to work in F1. Like you work for a few years and then never show up again, you know. Let's say I'm done, bye-bye. It's,
Yeah,
it's
like
also very intense on the teams in terms of cost. Like you're saying cost caps and all of that, but you're like, okay, I need you to move everything quicker and more efficiently all over the world. Like it makes no sense. Like in that, I don't get that.
so would you have more of a problem with more races or more in the US specifically?
No, I don't mind. Like I have an issue with more in the US, but they added a race onto the calendar and put it in the US, so now we've got 3. So they didn't really drop any races to add the US in.
No,
They
and it's
just
the
kind of
thing, they actually will. So like they're saying, I think France is at
that's
risk.
what I'm gonna say. That's my
Somewhere
issue.
else is
If
at
they
risk, and I
drop
think Monaco is at risk as well, actually.
Monaco and where else?
I'm hearing Monaco is at risk. There's 3, France, something else, and Monaco. Like that's the
I heard
rumor I keep
Silverstone
reading.
might be dropped. It was
I did
Silverstone. I
not
heard
hear that.
Silverstone or
I did not hear
Monza.
that. No, no.
Silverstone
See,
or
the thing
Monza.
is with those ones is the so the for context, the old tracks, uh, like those classic ones, they get very good deals because obviously F1 basically has to go to them. Like realistically, it's not an F1 calendar without Monaco, Monza, Spa, Silverstone. Those kind of tracks they have to stay on. So they don't sign like 20-year deals like you're seeing with Jeddah and places like that. They don't sign huge deals. They just sign a couple years every time. And the funds are like those tracks don't have a lot of money. But the ones in like Jeddah and stuff, because they're funded by the government and the oil money and all of this, they'll have loads so they can just get a 10-year contract. So like I don't think they're necessarily at risk, but you know, they'll get signed on eventually. It's Monaco's the big one that's looking like it might not be because they get very like they don't have to pay that much to be on the calendar because it was like a mutual deal. Like F1
It's
needs
Monaco
Monaco, Monaco
basically.
needs F1. Yeah, exactly. But now, because all these new fans, plus even most of the old fans as well, like everyone's kind of being put off Monaco a little bit. It's looking like they're going to be backed into a corner in terms of they don't have that like negotiating power anymore. So Monaco
I
could
think like
actually
with
go.
Monaco, I think with Monaco, I don't actually see Monaco going, to be honest. Mainly because F1 is known for kind of the glamour and like, you know, the being kind of the it sport in that sense. And Monaco is literally the home of all of that. Like seeing like the race with the, you know, the yachts there and like Kimi like getting off the racetrack and sitting on his yacht and watching the race. It's iconic, but it does actually add a lot of value, not necessarily in that sense, like it kind of adds to the image of Formula One. So I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
see
yeah.
like I see something like Silverstone going or Monza going before I actually see Monaco going in that sense. Um,
I don't know
I
about that,
obviously
but
don't
even
want them to go. I don't
yeah,
want them
yeah,
to go, let's be honest. Like I don't mind like obviously like the few ones you don't want to go are I don't care about Imola, but like Monza, Silverstone, Spa, those are the 3 you don't want to go. Everything else is kind of like you don't really care that much. Like if they go,
yeah. They get
no one
cycled in
cares.
every couple of years, but there are
But
certain
those
like
three, those three
strongholds in
have
the
been
calendar.
there for so long, or those 4, sorry, have been there for so long. You can't drop them. Uh, I
Yeah.
don't mind the US
Also,
to be honest, but it's too much if you're gonna risk like because they want to take care of the new fans, but they're also putting at risk kind of all the old fans. Because if you remove Silverstone and Monza, like half of the fan, not even half of it, most of the fan base is just gonna be mad.
yeah, they will get mad. Like, here's the thing. Just quickly before we like move on like too far forward, what if Vegas became the new Monaco? Like, Vegas is known for its glamour as well. It's not quite Monaco, and obviously,
Mm.
like you said, F1's a lot more European centric. But Vegas is also like a very glamorous place, if you want to call it that. If the race turns out to be really good and it's a big success and they sell loads of tickets and you get like loads of American celebrities involved, I wouldn't be too like. Well, I would be really surprised, but like it could almost rival Monaco in that sense. Like, do you think it could get to that point?
I get what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, I think like obviously Silverstone I don't see to be honest dropping. Like I'd see them dropping others, but not Silver. Like I'm thinking about it right now. I'm like, I don't see them dropping Silverstone mainly because half the media, not even half the media, all the media is British. Like half
Yeah,
of Formula One or more than most of Formula One is British. Like it is
8 of the
it
teams are
is an
based like
international
within an
sport.
hour of Silverstone.
Exactly, but the sport is like in that sense British in terms of pretty much all the teams are, except Ferrari is the only team that has no base in the UK. Every other team actually has a base in the UK. So if they drop like Silverstone, I don't see that happening at all. Like, or if they do it, it will be like very controversial. Like, as in
Oh yeah, no,
like
yeah, that
very
really wouldn't gonna
controversial.
happen. I don't think they could. To be fair, with the
Monza
way they're
especially.
going, maybe in a couple years they would actually get rid of it, but like they can't
Not
right
now,
now.
no, no.
Yeah, definitely not.
Monaco, you see, I actually think like if Vegas turns out to be like what you're saying, then it might actually they might drop it for Vegas. Like they might say, okay, we'll just put Vegas in where Monaco was. But then
Yeah,
the issue is like I was interested more in like them putting new tracks in like countries we don't go to, not put three in one country.
yeah.
I
Here's the
get the
thing.
US is huge and stuff, but they put like two races on the East Coast. Like you have got Miami and what's the other
So
one? Texas.
yeah, so when it got announced, there was like two camps on Twitter, like there always are. There was the people who said, "Nah, it's too many races in America now. Like, what are they doing? It's all getting Americanized. There's too many. We don't want to see that again. Why do they get three races? It's just one country." And then there was the other side that was saying, in Europe, all of the tracks are within like a couple hours. You could drive to quite a few of the tracks in like a day. But to go from Miami to Austin and then from Austin to Las Vegas, it's probably like, I don't know, whatever it was, like 11 hours each between each one or something like that. But then Spa and Hockenheim or Spa and even Silverstone, France, wherever you're going, like they'll be within a couple of hours of each other. The problem is with that, like, you can't base it on distance. You can't just say, like, oh, America's big, it deserves loads of tracks. Because Africa's massive, Australia's also huge. You're not going to shove like another 10 on them and then have two
We
European
don't
races.
have any in Africa as well.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, the problem is, I'd want the, I get America's big and there's loads of different cultures or whatever between the different bits, but like, the culture difference between Miami and Las Vegas isn't quite as different as you say just going to keeping one in Austin and then going to somewhere in North like Morocco and South Africa. Do you know what I mean? Like there's
I
just
get, yeah, I get if they ditch Texas, to be honest. Like I get the Miami
wow,
race.
no,
I
I
get
like
why they want to
Texas, bro.
do a Vegas race. Like those two, I get because they're kind of like when you think when you think F1, you think like something like Miami, you think something like Vegas. You don't really think Texas. Like it just does not come to mind. So if they
I
add
guess
like
so.
I wouldn't be surprised if in a few years you start to see like one in say like California, like LA or like that would fit in
Right,
well
if NA went on the
with what
calendar
they're
as well, I
trying.
would actually cry.
Yeah,
I don't want to see that.
that's what they want to go for, isn't it? But I think like with the rest of like these seven races, like they need to put in like we need a race in Africa. We need one in like Morocco. South Africa has to come back. I get like with
Bro, we
South
need one in
Africa
like
there is a bit
Vietnam.
of
Like what
issue
happened to
with the
Vietnam?
safety. Vietnam
Yeah,
as well.
that's
Yeah,
you're right. No, the
Russia's
problem they're
dead.
having with the problem they're
South
having with
America as well.
yeah, see, that's the thing. Like a lot of these countries, like in South America and Africa, they say they do want to go to them. It's just the problem is they want like a stable uh, government and all of that stuff because they don't just want to pile money into wherever it is and then go there and then there's like
Brother, go to
an
Saudi, man.
uprising or whatever. That's also a
You're gonna
very
get
good point.
arrested for
That's
saying
also a
this.
very good point.
Mexico isn't the safest place in the world, and yet we've gone to Mexico for so many years, and there hasn't been any incident. So I don't see the reason why we can't go to Morocco, we can't go South Africa. We've been to these like Morocco and South Africa. We had races there before. So like it's just about. I guess it's also about like the countries willing to invest in it. Like India, why aren't we going to India again?
Yeah, bro. Oh, yeah. India was good on the calendar. I don't think the race was that entertaining, but the track looks sick. Like, it's a very nice looking track.
No, the race wasn't entertaining. That's a different part. But I'm talking about like if you want to get more fans in, then you want to make it a more global event.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
You have the European race season because that's where most of the money comes in from. It's Europe. But then you have like a few races in the US. Fair enough, you're gonna have three races in the US. Uh, you're gonna have like you need like at least one more in South
Yeah.
America, one or two in Africa, a few more in Southeast Asia, like
You want it to be global. Like, the thing is, I love the fact that, like, you
one
think of
in
like Singapore.
Antarctica.
You think of like Singapore, right? Like that's just it's such a sick place. And if anyone wants a reason to travel to Singapore, the perfect time would be go to see the race. Like it's just a perfect example of like F1 just going to a different country and then showcasing how incredible it is to go to. Like sort of what Saudi's trying to do now, like and Qatar as well with like the tourism stuff. Like you
Yeah,
showcase your country being like a great place to visit. You put on a sick event, and then everyone's like, "Oh, I wouldn't have considered going to, Singapore was on my list of places to go, but now it's like because of the race, I really want to go there." You go see it, you have a good time, and then you come back, and it's like, you're exploring the world rather than, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to Austin, Florida, or
US,
whatever. Like I
US, US.
understand, I understand for fans near that area, you want to have a local place near you. Like obviously, if we wanted to drive to Silverstone, we could. The ticket prices are a different conversation, but it's nearby. But for them, I know we need like races near where fans are, but also it's nice to like tap into different areas of the world, like go somewhere interesting. Don't just shove it in like a big city, because we've all heard of these big cities, and most of the people who can afford to go to a race would have probably been to these cities anyway. Like, go somewhere new, like open more doors. Like there's a lot of
See,
potential.
that's why I'm a bit against like now all the new tracks are gonna be like street tracks. Like they wanna get rid of Silverstone and have like a street track in London. They wanna, but my issue with like it's exactly the same point you're saying. Like if you have a street track, it's just the middle of the city, which we've all kind of seen before. But when you have like something in the countryside, it adds more depth to it. Like, do you get what I mean? It's exactly
Yeah,
what you're
yeah.
saying.
Exactly. So
Like I really like Brazil. I think something in like South America, like Argentina would be an amazing race. Like I really want to see that. South Africa, Morocco. I think Morocco would be a sick race. Like
that's
honestly.
what bro. I just came up with Morocco off the top of my head, but like the more I think
But
about it, the
Morocco,
more I'd love a
Morocco,
race in Morocco.
exactly is because like it's very different. Like the culture in Morocco is very different to all the Arab countries you go to. And so you go there, it'd just be like that would just be on its own be incredible. Like I
Even
actually,
Egypt should host a race, man. Why aren't they doing that?
yeah, sure. Just one around the pyramids, yeah. Just like you just go in circles around the pyramids. To be fair,
The
to
way
be
they're
fair,
designing
they
these
do
tracks,
host.
Tilke would fully just draw a line in the sand around the pyramids, and that'll be it.
Yeah, to be fair, they do host like Egypt do host like a squash tournament, and it's like those glass courts, and the
Yeah,
court is literally right in front of the pyramids. So like the players are playing, and the backdrop is literally like the pyramids. Obviously, that's a lot
that's
easier
so
because you
cool.
can put a glass court every. Like squash is probably like I think the best sport in that sense because they have one in Grand Central Station, they have one in Hong Kong looking over, or they used to at least, looking over the whole city. One looking over the pyramids. They have like squash because they can put like a glass court anywhere essentially.
Yeah,
They're so lucky in that sense. They have like some mad places they go to. It's very, very impressive. That's what we want from F1. We want like not like even if it's like the race is not going to be the most entertaining, you want kind of a show around the country. You get to experience like the different cultures
yeah,
and
and
stuff.
not just like Big Ben in the background. Like we want to see culture, we want to see different things. So
I think that's why
I guess
India would be very interesting because it's such a kind of like we've been there before. It came off the like I think India probably won't see for the next few years mainly because the government invested quite a lot of money in the track, and then the track was scrapped. It's not on the calendar anymore. Obviously, it's very expensive to get on now, so it
yeah,
would require a lot of investment to come in. That's probably why they're going to keep going to the US and Europe because there is that hunger and money to pay for it and there is like consumption for it essentially. Whereas if you say I go India or I go Morocco or wherever, you require so much capital to build up the race. I think India spent like 500 million on the track, some weird number like that, huge, huge number. And and they never reaped the reward because people weren't buying the tickets. That's why they stopped going to India because there wasn't any demand for the tickets.
I guess now they've got to try again because the thing is F1's much better at marketing now, and there's a billion people in India. Like to not be able to sell tickets, that's just embarrassing. Like it's a big event. It's the only type of the only event of that kind once a year in that country, and there's a billion people to sell tickets to, and you haven't even managed to do that. Like
I think
realistically,
it
at
was
that point, you're
because
doing something wrong.
Bernie didn't wasn't really convinced by India.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like now they can market better. They can try and tap into these new places. So Yeah.
Yeah.
Shall we get onto the race?
Yeah, let's get on to race. The timing is horrible,
Wait,
but like, yeah, it's good. It's good. I would be interested to see one in like New Zealand, perhaps.
maybe, yeah. I've heard it's a nice place.
Mm.
New Zealand.
Whereas Macau would be interesting as well. I like how we came back onto this.
Yeah, bro, come on, man. Let's get into it.
I'm thinking of like places where you want to go to see like a very, very nice track.
Leave comments
Uh,
of like random tracks you want to see races at.
Yeah,
Like, I just want to
or
see
if you don't
countries.
know a
Yeah.
track, just list like a
Just name a
country where
country.
you really
Yeah.
wanna. Yeah, like because like you've got like loads in Africa. Like Kenya would be nice, like having a race, or Mauritius.
Yeah.
Like having something right on the sea there would be like insane. But see, we come back to the last point, which is like funding essentially for this. But then F1 could make it easier for newer countries to come in instead of requiring like so much money to come in. But anyways, moving on.
Yeah. Pricing is different.